So, I want to go ahead and present something to people so that way they understand exactly ramifications of personal stances, of absolutist mentality. All right? These are a few examples of literally how somebody's life can end up getting destroyed. By extension, your life could end up getting destroyed without you doing anything. And all of it because of people not wanting to go ahead and be alarmist. Okay? So, example that ended up just getting made last video. The sex offender registry. Alright? Like, for example, assuming that because someone does not look physically appealing, that automatically that means that they're some form of predator. No. Alright? So, like, for example, Myrna's husband that died. He was on the sex offender registry because his daughter made false accusations. Alright? Or at least that's what was said. So I had to live in the same home and end up having to deal with apparently paperwork getting mixed up, and it being assumed that because somebody was a red dot in the same household under the same roof that I was in, that was automatically, oh, I'm the person on the registry. No. Alright? And now understand, too, the weaponization of that registry, how it actually makes society less safe, okay? Because I'm going to tell you some of the absurd ways that you could end up on that registry that ultimately you never thought would end up happening. And could actually lead to cataclysmic ramifications for the rest of your life. Alright? Like, for example, say you have a teenager, alright? Say you were a parent who is parenting someone of teenage age, alright? Now, just remember, there's cloud storage, alright? So, automatically, if somebody goes ahead and sends a naked picture of themselves, it's going to be stored by the service that goes and, ends up being the sender of that picture, alright? Whether it be Google, whether it be, Apple, it doesn't matter, alright? Josh Wolf ended up making a joke about how his son ended up sending a dick pic to his girlfriend, and he ended up seeing the desk, and he, in the picture, so he ended up going ahead and realizing whose penis it was. He was like, I made that dresser. And then he's like, I made that dick. Realizing it was his son. Now keep in mind, he could have ended up getting put on a sex offender registry. He could have ended up having to be a registered sex offender. Well, his child also, under the assumption of them being in the same household, literally could have ended up, like both of them, could have just ended up both getting locked up for distribution of child pornography because of him being underage at the time. Alright? Both of those land you on a registry. Both of those will end up getting you sent to prison for a long while. We've seen the whole Fort Polk situation, how a lot of higher-ups in the military ended up going ahead and getting dishonorably discharged because of there being child pornography on their hard drives. Wonder how that could have gotten there. Funny thing is, for all you know, it really could have been a situation that they weren't actually child predators, and that ultimately they ended up pissing their kids off so much that their kids decided to go ahead, take pictures of their genitals and everything, put it, go ahead and send it, and because of them not knowing that it's on that cloud server, ultimately they ended up losing their entire military career because of the factor that their kid decided, I'm horny, I'm isolated from everyone else because I'm constantly getting moved around and I don't know how to socialize. I might end up being a little bit more popular amongst my peers if I go ahead and share pictures of my genitals, being like, hey, here's a little bit of a sneak preview of what you could potentially end up getting. But ultimately, you need to socialize with me and deal with my socially awkward ass first, in order to even have a shot in the first place. Alright? Another way you could end up on a sex offender registry, that 10-year-old kid that literally ended up getting 3 months probation, and as well as getting locked up for peeing behind his mother's car. Alright, so a 10-year-old ultimately could also end up getting, charged with public indecency. Get put on a sex offender registry. Now, keep in mind, with him actually starting his family starting a civil rights violation lawsuit, the police absolutely, if they want to retaliate, can go ahead and put him on a sex offender registry. Be like, you know what? We tried being like, after the probation's done, all is said and done, but you wanted to go ahead and sue us and cost us our livelihoods, so now fuck you, have fun with your sex offender registry. You either go ahead and drop your lawsuit, which is absolutely abuse of power and a breach of their civil rights violation, violation of their civil rights. And this kid could end up having to go the rest of his life being on a sex offender registry because of the fact that he needed to urinate in a place where there was no bathrooms around. Alright? So literally, those right there are some examples of where you could end up on a sex offender registry without actually sexually assaulting or sexually abusing anybody, while at the same time, because of people wanting to assume guilt automatically, people's lives end up getting destroyed, and then you have to pay tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars on legal representation to go ahead and have your name cleared because of the factor that because people wanted to go ahead and start it as a rumor, and be like, no, they're definitely that way because, they don't look aesthetically pleasing in the way that I would find them attractive, so I don't believe that anybody could want to procreate with them. Are you seeing the fucking slippery slope there? And the fucked up thing is, this 10-year-old kid, because of the factor of how bad this lawsuit is going to look on law enforcement, do you really think that they're going to go ahead and hold back from putting him on that sex offender registry? Now, keep in mind, the fucked up thing is, the reason that they would take that specific course of action, because keep in mind too, alright, he's African American. So literally, the fucked up thing is, making a move like that because of, police stations not wanting to go ahead and deal with a civil rights lawsuit, fucked up thing is, doing that in retaliation, that's the light-handed approach that law enforcement ended up taking. Because look at most of the circumstances. Most of the times, the person from that minority community, they end up dead. They end up being assumed, and in the police report, it says they had a weapon on them. That, the person was, the officer was in danger of their safety, so they ended up going ahead and using lethal force, so that way they knew that they were going to be able to make it home to their family that night. Law enforcement is literally being used as hired muscle, and unless you've been on the receiving end of that, you have not understood exactly the fucking conversation that's going on.